wonderful people. You know, I only just noticed as I was bringing y'all on, like, I was like, oh, Jesse, I didn't even notice. I was like,
Yeah,
look how
yeah.
it goes perfectly together.
It won't be confusing
Okay,
at all.
I've brought y'all here today to talk about foolishness, but in the context of talking sensible things, because recently it just came to my attention yesterday. I saw the Vanguard put out a video that Anna Kasparian, Jillian Michaels, and two other right-wing people that I don't know from anywhere decided to start a show called Her Take, and I think it's hosted by PBD and Valuetainment, whose stated ideals are capitalism and what was the other ideal, Aaron? It was capitalism and
Entrepreneurship.
debate. Entrepreneurship, capitalism, and debate are the stated ideals of Valuetainment. So that is who's hosting this new show. And the trailer in and of itself was absurd, but I said, you know what? Let's watch the first episode and let's react together, because I'm sure that will provide us the opportunity to debunk. Oh Lord.
Capitalism is a critically important economic system that has advanced society and the quality of life we enjoy today. Jesus.
Yes.
Oh,
This
boy.
is who's hosting Anna Kasparian's new show.
Yes. This is where the money flows from.
Oh, boy.
So
I can already have
and
a headache.
whenever you're ready, we're not going to watch the entire episode, but we're going to watch the second half of the episode. And I am mentally prepared to be incredibly stimulated.
Your team. So, Supreme Court parental rights case, Mahmoud v. Taylor. Who wants to set this one up? What's going on? Anybody want to take it, or I'll pass to Anna, unless Amy, you want to jump on it?
Essentially, my understanding is there is a cohort of different religious families. We're talking Muslims, Jewish people, Christian families, who want to see an opt-out option available for a range of books that have been introduced for pre-K and elementary school children. Now, initially, when this push came out, that was a part of a whole inclusivity push back in 2022. They said they were going to release these books and distribute them to the children. However, they would make parents aware, and there would also be an option to opt out. By 2023, that was rescinded.
Mhm.
And this is why the parents are now taking it to the courts, because essentially what the schools initially promised them was retracted for no apparent reason. And for these parents, they want to be the ones to decide when they have these sensitive conversations with their kids, not the school.
Yeah.
And my perspective is there is nothing wrong with that. I think we should be.
Amen.
We should be dealing with these things within our families.
Oh,
and
Jesus
not
Christ.
Yeah.
It's the way they be
So,
considering the
I'm in
existence.
full
It's the way they consider the existence of certain populations of people. Like, if you didn't know better, the straw man that she's setting up, it sounds perfectly reasonable. Oh, there's certain sensitive matters parents want to be able to discuss with their school, with their children before the school. But what the sensitive matters she's referring to are like Black people, queer people, like they exist, they write
They
things.
exist.
Yeah.
It's also
Jesse.
interesting. Well, no, it's also interesting too. I didn't see the context before that we came into this conversation here, but like it's interesting they're putting it on like Muslim families as well here, because there is like a concerted push to sort of create a wedge between, you know, sort of Arabic Muslim groups and the queer community. You saw it a lot with like Israeli rainbow propaganda sort of being like, oh, well, Palestinians would kill you in a heartbeat, so you should support Israel's, you know, genocidal policies. And it was a continual wedge that they bring up. And so it's like it's interesting that they start this off with like, they eventually agree with all the transphobic queer nonsense, but they put it on Muslim folks as if like right-wing, you know, white supremacist bullshit hasn't been doing this since day one.
Right. And they make it seem like it's an inclusive push to be non-inclusive. They're like,
exactly.
no,
It's like
this
we're
isn't
following
just
the
like
Muslim fam. Yeah.
It's not just the Republicans. It's not just like the white Christians. No, the Muslims, everybody. We all agree. Get this out of school.
We all agree.
Claren.
support of these families who are seeking recourse for this and who want to maintain the rights over what their children learn. I mean, for me, there's nothing wrong with that.
So there's a few other details to this that I think are super relevant, because what we're talking about here are not high school students. We're talking about elementary school students. And what I thought was really fascinating about how this school district approached this issue is, you know, given the nature of these books and how it brings up things like same-sex couples, you would typically find this type of curriculum in the context of health, right? Like health curriculum. But the school district decided to put it under the context of literature and English. And so I wonder if they did that intentionally to prevent the opportunity of students to, parents to opt out. Because if it's in the context of health and let's say sex ed,
Yeah.
I was trying so hard to give Anna the benefit of the doubt, and what I was assuming in my looking at it in the light most favorable to Anna, I thought this was going to be one of those things we're going to be critiquing you generally for just legitimizing this right wing like nonsense and being on the show in the first place and giving like, but that she was going to obviously be I thought for sure she was getting ready to push back on this lady, like that she was going to be like the more sensible voice and seem far more progressive than she is because she's in a room full of right wing crazy people. But instead, she's helping it. She's actually adding to the argument. She'd be like, hey, obviously, we should only... It's so ridiculous. Instead of she addressed the fact, what books are they talking about? What are they trying to frame in and of itself as the controversial books that need to be removed from the school?
They do bring up some of the books later, like pictures of the books and stuff.
Like,
yeah. Okay, so this like pronoun stuff, like... Interesting, because she says they're putting it in like the English and literature section, which is interesting too because it's sexualizing queer people just on its face. It's like, oh, we our lives don't get to just exist as like part of a canon of English literature, because if they were talking about kinds of they don't get to exist as like part of a canon of like literature, or we can't contribute to literature. No, ours needs to be segmented off in health, which is already inherently like placing into the realm of like sex and that sort of like fetish stuff that they always sort of align it with. And the same thing with you're saying with Anna, like I used to give her the benefit of the doubt. At this point I don't, like, and it's very clear like what queer and trans issues enable someone like her to do is for her to go into a room and frame herself as the most progressive voice so she can get there, but then she can be like, oh, well, I agree with you on this. Like, I'm a sensible one. Like, we all agree the queer people are going too far, and it's that push to the right that she's sort of elucidating that, like, Democratic Party generally is trying to do, but it's like queer and trans people become that issue that allows them to sort of be like, well, like, yeah, we may have some disagreements about X, Y, and Z, but we all agree that queer people are just weird.
Right.
So,
Aaron.
Fate, like actually going through the trial for his corruption charges. Right. And the best way to skirt responsibility for that is to keep this going.
I have heard that. I've done. Does anybody have a counter argument to that? Because I'm not educated enough to push back on it.
I'm anti-BB because he's so.
That's interesting. You agree?
He was so invested in Trump's victory because he saw that as his escape from justice.
100%.
Okay,
you're right about that.
So I like the way we're like, Supreme Court, parental rights. Dear God, we made it less contentious. Everybody's alive.
It should be less contentious.
I don't know. Because now I'm going to be the odd man on this one.
I'm kidding. This will be super contentious.
All right,
I'm doing my best not to complain about them talking over one another.
Supreme Court parental rights case, Mahmoud.
I was just saying I can't understand anything they're talking about right now.
I was like, I'm
about how this school district approached this issue is, to put it under the context of literature and English. And so I wonder if they did that intentionally to prevent the opportunity of students to, parents to opt out. Because if it's in the context of health and let's say sex ed, that's when you have an opt-out option typically when it comes to some of the more controversial issues that religious parents have problems with. Now, in this case, elementary school, we're talking about 4th graders and 5th graders, super young, like 8, 9, 10-year-olds. You're talking about same-sex couples. Yeah, I agree. I think that especially religious parents want the opportunity to opt out so they can broach these topics.
This intentional desire to make queer people can never be discussed as people. They're always discussed in relation to a relationship or a sexual relationship or some dynamic, to echo what you were saying, Jesse, about the sexualization. It's like, books, she says it as though it's blasphemous. Like, oh, like they're trying to put books about queer people and by queer people in the literature section rather than health, as though like queer people do not write books, or narratives and stories can't be a part. Like that's where they go. That's where books go. That's where that's where you read books in school, right? That's where you're assigned reading books, and they're inherently making it. Oh, they're talking. It can't just be like the books we saw that Aaron Flash. These are literally kids' books, just trying to teach them how to interact with other queer children they might meet. That's literally it. Just these are children. The children themselves, their sexual their sexual identity is not them, or their gender identity is not their sexual, you know what I mean? Their sexual orientation is not them being sexual or something to be sexualized as children. That's not what they're thinking about. Those are not the conversations they're having, and that's not what those books are about. But it's intentionally framed that way to make it seem like, oh, sex is something we know is, we protect children, but that's not what's happening here at all.
And it's also interesting too, because there's an implicit assumption that she makes here, she's framing that she's putting here, which is that the school intentionally did that as a way to deceive parents.
Yes.
And it's a constant framing device to sort of set like traditional educational like public schools and things like that as like against parents' rights, quote unquote, which is how it's always framed. It's like, oh, trans issues is always about like parents' rights to like tell their kids when to talk about their bodies or whatever, when it's never about like the kids' rights to express themselves or be themselves or explore who they are. And so it's always setting like, oh, parents get to dictate and control their kid. And it like completely and totally, and schools or educational systems are always about like corrupting your kid, corrupting your control. And queerness is again like often the wedge issue there, but like I did a lot of looking into this with like there's a lot of anti-trans media, and quite often a recurring frame in anti-trans media is like, oh, the schools are turning your kids queer. They're trying to turn your kids away from you. That's why you need to homeschool them or pay a shit ton of money to go to a conservative school, or like all of these things. It's why you also see stuff like, PragerU putting out like homeschooling stuff that like centers the value of America and American values and all that jazz. So it's like, it's all part of the same pipeline and project. It's why all this trans stuff is just a top of level funnel into so many other right-wing projects. It's why it's so useful in so many ways, because it's a great wedge issue that people don't understand. So then someone like Anna Kasparian, who's like, I'm progressive, I'm the one who understands these issues, and like I'll like she's able to like go into conservative spaces and then sort of push all of these sort of conservative worldviews into a progressive lean. It's fascinating. Yeah.
I think there's also too something to be said. Not enough, though it's said often. This is an inherently adult fucking problem.
Yeah.
She's talking about 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. I have an 8-year-old niece and a 10-year-old niece. This is not what they're concerned about. This is not what they're thinking about. They're not sexualizing their peers. They're not sexualizing themselves. It's adults that are doing that. And that's like the deeper issue for me with this shit.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
Well, we say it, but I feel like it's not registering for people because they sit here and they're manufacturing like hysteria. Really, that's all they've been doing for the last like 10 years.
Yeah.
This issue, they're convincing parents to care about
this. Right.
Yeah. It's like kids don't think about this stuff. Like they really don't. When they think about pronouns, they just sort of take it as is. Like, oh yeah, I'll respect somebody that way. Like all this stuff is taught, and it's all these ingrained layers of assumptions about gender and about sex and queerness and sexuality that like adults have ingrained because of all the bullshit of our society. So they sort of want to push it down on kids and be like, kids need to learn these things, and sort of reaffirm the sort of inherent assumptions about queerness and gender and all this stuff that kids don't necessarily have. That these books are trying to like, these books are great access ways for kids to get this information in a way that is non-judgmental, and sort of just takes it as like just a given on a kid's level that like adults are have to unlearn shit to get to.
Right. Olay, do you mind if I bring in a personal anecdote?
Yes. Go ahead.
I mind. How dare you have personal anecdotes?
I'm so sorry. It makes me think about, I talk about this all the time, but my dad is black and my mom is white. And when I was a child on like sports teams, like young, like small kid football teams, when I was like 8 years old, other kids on the team, when they heard that like my dad, who was also the coach, is like black and like that's my dad, they were like, what do you mean that's your dad? He's black and you're white. And I'm like, well, my mom's white, so I don't know, I came out like this. And like as soon as I say it like that, it's never questioned again. It's not like they were bringing it up because they're like inherently racist and they're like, this is strange and weird and I hate this. It's like they were just like, oh, I didn't know you could look different than one of your parents. I didn't know that was a thing. And I feel like the queer issues, it would come up to children in the exact same way if like a little boy was like, oh, I think that other boy is cute, instead of saying like that girl is cute, because like kids have crushes in like kindergarten and stuff like that. So like if if a little boy has a crush on another little boy or something, instead I highly doubt that the other kids, unless they were put upon by their parents, would be immediately discriminatory and weirded out and thinking about sex, which is a thing they don't know anything about at all.
Yeah,
Like,
no, you're absolutely right.
Kids notice difference, right? They'll notice difference, but they won't put it into an inherent value judgment. Like I get it all the time. Like there'll be a kid who like I'll go to a Starbucks or I'll be out and doing whatever, and I'll notice like a kid be like give a double take at me being just like overtly, non-gender conforming. And like they'll sometimes even ask, be like, "Are you a boy or a girl?" And then I'll explain like I'm non-binary, identify, and then like as long as like the parents like not gonna get all angry about it. And so it's just like. And then the kid just sort of takes like, oh, okay, and then just goes on their way and has like a day. So like they'll notice difference, but they won't attach the value judgment and hierarchy that our society does of like saying, oh, you're better or worse. So I mean that's again why these things are so good for kids. Like they'll explain to kids being like, yeah, people are different and that's okay, and not place it within a value judgment.
And we even condition the value judgment when it does show up in kids, when you see it. Like my partner's little brothers, they're like 12, and when they were staying with us for like a long weekend, and my CJ asked them like, oh, do you have a crush on anybody in school or whatever? But he was like, he didn't want to, he said, any little boys or little girls, and they were like, ew, like little boys or whatever, because that's how their dad, you know what I mean, is conditioned them to have that kind of response. And the minute we were like, no, like that'd be normal, like we were just saying, like there's no need for that to be responsible. You could see their face like at like, oh, I don't have to like be judgmental towards that. Like I don't have to have this kind of reaction. Like I saw her face like, oh, that isn't like, y'all don't respect that kind of reaction in this household. Like the more we were like, oh yeah, like no, and then that stopped, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, like you see throughout the weekend, different things like earlier in the weekend, like if they want to go to have the little boy reactions that their dad is teaching them to have. And then once like we kind of put a stop to them, they didn't feel like they had to do that. They weren't judged. We were like, oh, I was like buying stuffed animals, and I was like, oh, you want one? He's like, yeah, I actually do. I do like them or whatever. I'm not. And so I think, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like children and people like even at older ages are so much more receptive to things, but it's about how we condition the people to think they're supposed to respond to things, and we do it a lot. And
how we and how we affirm gender too. Like the thing that blew my like I always knew like, oh, we teach kids gendered roles like right from the start, but the most nominal one that someone pointed out to me that like I can't unsee it, and I see it every time now, is even with little kids. If you go into a room and there's a boy and a girl kid, people will almost always compliment the boy on what he's doing, like the action he's doing, and they'll always comment on the girl how she looks. Yeah. Like even from a young age, we like value boys doing action and girls looking pretty, and even from like 3 or 4 years old. And I've just noticed even with my fiance has family, his sister who has kids, and I see it all the time with them. So it's just it's we just constantly reaffirm that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Anna. That's good.
Topics with their kids themselves. And they're not trying to ban these books. That's a really important distinction here. They're saying, you know what? Keep teaching, using these books. That's fine. We just want the option to opt out. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. The fact that the school district wants to prevent that, I think, is super problematic, to be honest.
So I agree with you completely on that. I want to go back to the days where we're just reading like Clifford the Red Dog or whatever. We leave it to the parents. And I'm speaking as a Christian myself. Like I would feel, if I had kids today, I would feel deeply uncomfortable if my kids were indoctrinated and had no choice of stepping out. And you can opt out of sex ed classes. People are given that choice. You
Indoctrinated
can't for
into
these
what?
books.
Like they want people to be stupid so bad, and that's clear. I wish I could find a respectful way to say it, but that's what it is. Like, even to follow it up with like, see, we allow people to opt out of sex ed class, and how's that worked? How has that helped? How is that ineffective? You know what I mean? It is like they want, and I notice also when they say, if my kids were being indoctrinated, but they don't say what. They're not saying indoctrinated into what. What is it that your children are being exposed to? What are the sensitive conversations? What
She
is
also
the
said
sensitive
if I
subject
had
matter?
kids, which she
Right.
doesn't.
Right.
So
They don't
Yes,
want their
also.
kids to be
I mean, it's
indoctrinated
again the whole.
into acceptance is really the issue. Because
Yes.
they're so bigoted, they're so
Yeah,
hateful.
I mean, it's
They don't want their kids to be accepting, because then their kids are going to start questioning them, and they don't want to have to deal with that. That's
Exactly.
really ultimately what this
Yep.
comes down to.
Right.
Yeah. It's as you're saying, it's like it's an attack on education. Like, all of this is stuff is just to keep people out of like education and literacy, like media literacy, actual like reading literacy in terms of how to deal with politics. Like, it's to keep people unable to actually grasp at anything other than what's quote unquote common sense, and common sense is always, you know, whatever bullshit our society has ingrained as the norm: white supremacy, heterosexuality, all that stuff. So
right.
Initially, though, and that's
Right,
the
yes,
thing. When
and
it
it
was
was-
introduced in 2022, it's like, so why are you going to offer that and then rescind it a year later? I can see why people would feel a way about that in any context.
Oh, let me get
So I
comfortable for this
listened-
one because I'm alone.
I listened. Hold on, sorry, you
Jillian.
I listened to. No, hold on.
Yeah,
listen.
Jillian
So I
Michaels
listened to the
is the
entirety of the Supreme Court
progressive
hearing
voice
on.
on this show. Like, if Anna is not even the progressive voice on this panel, that is absurd. If Jillian Michaels is getting to be the only one who pushes back on this bullshit, Jesus Christ.
we're in wonderful times.
Which I think it's worth mentioning that they're not advertising this show as like a popular. They're not doing like what Rising does, where they pretend like, oh my God, it's a popular show and we have somebody from the left and we have a debate or whatever. They're not saying that. If you go look at, I think her name is Lindy Lee, the Asian lady that's sitting there, and all these other their posts about it, they are calling it a conservative show. It is a conservative show being hosted by Valuetainment that I just listed, whose stated ideals are in the enforcement of capitalism. like this is what this is. And I also think it's a deliberate choice for Anna to be sitting up there in that red dress. I think that's also yeah, all of that is intentional. So it's a damn shame. Hit play.
Jess, you had a question about context or something?
Yeah,
I heard you pipe.
Pivot from like bullying people on The Biggest Loser to commentator on a conservative talk. Like, has there been something in the last couple of years, or is she just randomly on here?
I personally entirely forgot who she was.
I was like, I know her name. Was she was she a workout lady? That's what I thought she was, but did I make that up?
No, she was on The Biggest Loser.
So how?
That's what I'm saying. I'm very confused by this.
Yeah, her whole channel is like it's like a whole right-wing political thing now. Not that anyone watches it.
Yeah, I think Aaron, you said it before we were recording. Like the failed entertainer to right-wing conservative show host is a straight line pipeline.
That's where our current president came from. So everybody else is just following suit.
They also just honestly, they truly underestimate. I feel like everybody thinks that they get to, this is, I guess, a content creator point. Like, this isn't even like ideology wise. I think so many of these people think that they will just become, they don't want to be creators. They don't want to be creators. They don't want to learn platforms. They don't want to learn how to produce shows. They don't want to learn how to do any of those things. They think they're just going to get on these platforms and blow up without learning these platforms. And that be clear to me just based on the infrastructure of what they do, because not for nothing, this first episode of their show will probably do well. And by virtue of everybody shitting on it too and like talking about it XYZ gave them even like more of a buzz and stuff than we're right. Like, it premiered 2 hours ago, 6,000 views. It's probably more on the back end, right? It's probably like 8, 10, maybe even double. Maybe it's even 12, right? And it'll probably be more than, it'll probably do well. And if this were a show, and but well is subjective, it's relative, I mean. If this were a show, one of them was doing themselves and just making in their home like a normal person who learned how to be a creator and how to, you know what I mean, with a green screen and whatever, then that's a good building spot. But when you go sign up to an entertainment company that is investing in whatever money or whatever set, paying all of y'all, I'm sure, salaries that are unearned and that you will not be able to recoup based on what this show is going to bring in on ad revenue to split between y'all sets, you're not going to make shit. And then it's just like, I just don't really understand the thought process when they do those things. I'm like, it's clear you want this. I get it. Y'all all sat up there. That's 4 ladies that I'm sure want some real money that this show will not bring in an ad revenue, let alone whatever the show, whatever is being invested in for you to record it, who's editing it, who's doing these terrible thumbnails, all of this. And I just look at it and I just be like, why don't you get a fucking green screen and Microsoft Word and a camera and a mic and say what you want to say? And it's because they can't by themselves. Like when they do it, they need the controversy inherently of this and the drama and everybody weighing in, but that ain't gonna make the money.
I mean that's what conservatives want to do, right? Like they want the joy and adoration of being seen as creators and people who like actually put like heart and feeling into art and to create and to think about these things. They don't want to do any of that work. They just want the instant adoration, the instant thing. It's just why they all see like art as product. I mean, you see it the same. It's the same bullshit of the Funk Daily Wire. It's like all their movies that they try to do. Like Ben Shapiro and all of them were like failed Hollywood folks who like wanted to get into Hollywood, failed it because they don't have anything earnest to say. They don't want to actually try, and they don't have anything earnest they want to say, and they don't want to take the time to like learn the process of how to figure out how to become good artists, good creators, to have a voice, to hone their voice. So they just reaffirm shit, and then you get stuff like valuetainment, which is just, and I think it's worth noting, we haven't really spoken about this yet, but like the fact that this is called HerTake, it's very clearly just propping these women up to be like, hey, look, they're gonna like women agree with us. Here's these conservative takes that like women generally agree with.
Wow,
yeah, I was just bringing up the thing to like look at the branding, looking at the branding of the channel in general.
I mean, I'm honestly shocked it's not like in hot pink, you know.
it looks directly like, it looks like a thing that exists, right? Like things that exist, like an entire era of TV of like, but what I'm trying to figure out is why. Like before, I'm like, okay, this is obviously a production
where bold
choice.
women tackle culture, business, politics, and relationships with no filters and no scripts.
Fiery debates.
Conversations anywhere
like,
else.
it says something to me. The fact that they're trying to revive this like old school, you know, look or whatever, it says something to me also about the time we're living in, the time that they think, like what they think. We're obviously in the era of people trying to bring back what they think is conservative, what is traditional in the old. It's clear, and that's like demonstrated in this. I'm not sure. I understand nostalgia. I understand trying to channel nostalgia. I do that in the production of different shows, right? Like this show has a 70s kind of vibe. Olay and Friends has a 90s kind of vibe. Like My Learn Naughty Pop, I have a very like black 90s theme song. But I'm like, aren't those eras we like? I'm just like, who still likes trash 2007 talk show, low budget camera vibes? Like,
I mean,
am
like,
I tripping here? I'm like, is there a YouTube market for this?
I mean, yeah, I don't know about the YouTube market, but it's appealing to that conservative like sense of professionalism and also the nostalgia aspect, as you're saying, of like, oh, this is, you remember this from when you're a kid, we're bringing it back. It's like that like nostalgia for an idealistic past that exists. That like even she's saying it here too. Like she says something about like, oh, I remember when we were reading Clifford the Big Red Dog, like appealing to like this childhood like memory that we all have. It's like, oh yeah, I don't remember talking about trans people when I was a kid, and everything was fine. I turned out great, you know. And so it's just that consistent like pull towards like a fascist, nostalgic, like we want to reform this past that's based on like this flattening of history, of like memory and what. Like all the common sense things of like, you know, remember common sense when these things were like this way and we didn't have to think about all gender and sexuality and racial issues all the time. You know, it's just appealing to that. And like this look, you know, it makes me think of like, you know, nothing that I was like invested in is like a personality, but it was this sort of like sleek professionalism that I would like, oh, I turn on like, I don't know, Channel 4 or whatever on my TV when I was a kid and be like, oh, look, the Access Hollywood logo. It's like, it's bland entertainment, but it's like had a veneer of like professionalism. So
this just look below budget.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could have made this look fancy with a green screen background you made up in the crib. Turn it up, Aaron.
They've got their Target fake plants and, you know.
Yeah. Gotta get your ferns. Yeah.
And making the accommodations for these students to opt out was difficult because where are the students going to go? We need to have teachers to take care of them as the other students are going through the curriculum. That's an interesting argument. Supreme Court justices didn't appear to really buy that argument based on what I heard. But what I thought was really fascinating was Justice Elena Kagan, a liberal justice who was, appointed by Obama, actually agreed with the conservative justices in regard to the nature of these books and how the content of these books is not appropriate.
So that's
for,
what I
let's read
want to
the titles.
litigate.
Yeah.
Because I must have missed something. Because when I looked it up, here's what I found: pre-kindergarten pride puppy. Can we maybe pull that up?
Do we really need a gay dog?
I don't think pride
I
puppy is a
think what
problem.
they're trying to establish
Jesus
is that
Christ,
there
these people.
are all different kinds of people and all different kinds of families, and by acclimating the kids, like, oh look, the next one would be
Jillian
Uncle
Michaels is the progressive voice on this show.
Yeah, I know. That's well. Is the argument she's about to make is like, oh, look, it's indoctrination. They're trying to get people to like starting.
No, I think
puppies.
she's saying, it seems to me they're just trying to get people to accept people. They're not trying. I think that's where she's going.
Well,
I could be wrong. It could go off the rails. Let's hit play.
Let's let her finish.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering where she's heading with it.
Uncle Bobby is gay and is married to a man, so it's not so foreign and so gross. And I say this simply because the way I was brought up many moons ago, it was foreign and it was gross, and I didn't know anybody who was gay except the interior designer that my dad would refer to as the queen bee, or some quote. I don't want to say the D word because YouTube will legitimately like demonetize the episode, but that word being used in a derogatory fashion as I was growing up, and I was homophobic for such a long time. Whereas I wonder if there was Uncle Bobby's wedding as a kid, it wouldn't have been gross and weird and foreign. So then the next one is first grade, intersection allies. We make room for all. Second grade, My Rainbow, a narrative about a mother supporting her transgender daughter. Now that one, I get it. Transgenderism in kids is tough when it's a separate conversation, but especially when it becomes medicalized, then you lose me entirely. Social transition is also really controversial, but nevertheless.
Again, a slippery slope.
I get it. Prince and Knight, a fairy tale where a prince finds
She's
love
like,
with a knight.
it's funny. Pause. This is what I'm always saying. The reason why Aaron and I were having this conversation before we started. Aaron asked me, like, when did the United States, like conservatives in the U.S., start hyper focusing on trans issues? And I was like, it's not that they like pick trans people out of like a bag. It's that they were already finished going through every other group, and this is who's left in the easiest to other. Because you notice how she fully understood the non-controversial, like inclusive reason for why these things should exist until it got to trans, because that's still foreign to her. So she's still like, she was like, oh, but that's different. Suddenly she embraced the exact same logic she just finished debunking from them that she saw as being flawed when it came to every other letter in the LGBT. She was like, the minute it got to trans, she was like, okay, I understand that's controversial. That's too controversial. That's a slippery slope. And this is the epitome of, it's easiest. You can't get away. It's become too normalized, and you've come to see as normal all the other members of the LGBTQ community. You see how this other stuff is problematic, but it's still okay. The popular consensus to what you said, this being a wedge issue, is like everybody's still like, I don't get trans people. That's still new to me, so it's okay for me to be bigoted because it's new to me.
Yeah, exactly. And it allows, and again, kind of what I was talking about before, it creates that wedge issue and then allows the pipeline back to all of these things. So, like, we're having the conversation now around these, like, kids' books that are talking about homosexuality and stuff, like, that she's defending, and I agree with her on those points. Jenna's like, yeah, this is the thing about normalizing these things and having these conversations, but now we're having the conversation about them through trans issues, and now it's sort of like, all right, now these are up for debate now. And it's the same thing that we've seen, and it was a concerted effort. It came up in bits and starts before that point, but right around 2020, there was, I think, right at the Republican convention, right after Trump lost the election, there was a thing where it's like, we're going to make trans people in sports the wedge issue because we can see how well that gets people, because people don't understand trans people in women's sports. You can even see it in like the Young Turks with both of them, like Senk and Anna, like being like, we keep, like, it's ridiculous you're talking about trans women in sports, like that's the one that the right always wins on. We need to like lose that one because it's bad on optics and it's ridiculous anyways. And it's like reaffirming people's views of womanhood generally, of like women are weaker, need to be protected from people who are seen as masculinized trans women. But then it also like shoots out into racialization, like race issues of like how black women have been viewed as more masculine and need to be shoved out of sports. That continually happens. So it opens up that conversation as well that we saw obviously with the Olympics this year, with like people of color at the Olympics being targeted by people like J.K. Rowling for being trans or whatever, for not conforming to like ideals of white femininity. So like the wedge issue of transness is one that people do not understand, and one of the few otherized groups that people don't understand, that then becomes the gateway for reaffirming, woman, like the conservative views of womanhood, conservative views of race, conservative views of sexuality. So it's just it's a top level pipeline to all of these things.
Absolutely. Also, this Prince and Night book looks great. Aaron, you got to
Yeah,
run
it's
it back.
adorable.
These are actually some wonderful little kids books I'm about to go buy. My niece and nephews, I'm like, run it back. This looks great. I've never seen this. This is too cute. Like,
Really controversial, but
Again, a
nevertheless.
slippery slope.
I get it. Prince and Knight, a fairy tale where a prince finds love with a knight. Allies, we make room for all.
If you want some good kids,
They created a
comic
nice
book-
shopping list for you.
Yeah.
right. I'm like, oh,
Funny.
I'm about to buy this. I'm about to send this to my niece.
That was the thing that I did with my fiance's family. They're more conservative, and so their kid
Established.
he didn't understand like queer stuff, wasn't exposed to it. So for Christmas, I'm just like, I just bought him a bunch of like queer, like subtle queer books. Like this has trans characters in it. So yeah, I am indoctrinating, but it's fun.
No,
book.
I'm
It's fine.
about to do it to my niece. I'm gonna send intersection allies. I feel like if I send Prince and Knight, it's so funny when you realize like you never have to have certain conversations with your family, but you know what they are deep down because I'm looking at this list and I'm like, I can send intersection allies. I was like, if I call Prince and Knight, is my brother-in-law gonna call me? Like, is he gonna call me and we're gonna have a fight? We don't need to have.
How old are your how old's your family member, your cousin?
My
She said?
oh, you're
Nephews?
gonna make me look like a piece of shit auntie right now. My niece was born. Her birthday was just not in April. I want to say she's 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think yeah.
you should get her. I'll make a recommendation on here because a friend of mine wrote Dead
Yes.
India. It's a great show on Netflix too, but it's a really adorable
Dead India. Like
Dead India.
DEADENDIA.
Yep, it's about
Okay,
a like a theme park, like a horror theme park that's like based around an old like singer. It's a really funny like horror, like kids horror paranormal thing, but it also has a trans mask main character, like a kid trans masculine main character. Very subtle, never like overtly says this, like just happens to be trans that comes up here and there. And then the other girl is I think Indian, like from India, girl with autism. And so it's just like a very subtly inclusive comic book that's really wonderful and very fun.
Hold on, let me show you my it's so funny. This is now about to get this episode. Let me show you my inclusive ass comics I have that I bought at the store the other day. Let me show you this right now.
I am here for inclusive ass comics. Also, just apologies if hopefully I'm not talking over you at any point, or I'm sorry if I did. Also, I love the art on this one too, My Rainbow. That's a really
right. I was like, I love that. Okay,
yeah,
so the other day, funny enough, I was in the boonies. I was in the boonies. And me and CJ went to a comic book store for him to find. He was trying to find Spider-Man, like special Spider-Man comic specific ones. And there was this white non-binary person working at the comic book store who was trying desperately to make this like comic book store inclusive, and like I created a table of like black and like trans and like queer like comics that like needed support, and was like so enthusiastically trying to get these people in this boonies ass comic book store to give a fuck, and they didn't because we're in the boonies. So me and CJ bought the whole table. I was like, oh, you're too excited, we should incentivize this or whatever. So I'm gonna show you. Look at this. Like I got this. It's called Bingo Love. Like if you see,
yeah,
I'm like,
really nice.
Yeah, no, this looks so dope. I'm like, this was so cool. Like these, I have no idea what it's about.
Who's the artist on that?
The artist is, let's see what's by. It's like bonus stories. Oh, I think maybe they have multiple stories in here. But it says T. Franklin. Jen, let me show you all the names. Let me show everybody the cover so you can look it up yourself. And then there was a black comic called Black Solstice. It just looked great. Don't know what it is. Looks amazing. I actually know to like Trevon Free. I was like, oh, this is dope. And then there was like a whole black comic book series. I bought them all. I haven't read any. So I was like, what if I buy one and I like it and I get home? So again, bought the whole table. And it was called Bitter Root.
Ooh.
And then there was this other one, black kid called like Malcolm Kid, like in the perfect time, right? And then
Ooh. Bitter
it's-
Root looked really good.
right, then there's this one called Soul Beat. I have a specific one. Hold on, I can show you one of the like the it's like a comic book of his like non-binary like superhero. I'm about to show you. Let me find it. Aaron, did I tell you I got me a whole Powerpuff Girls? Like I've been buying all kind of
Powerpuff Girls comics. Oh, cool. Are those like new prints or are they like
nice.
I have no idea. I'd be in the store while I follow TJ into the store while he's buying Spider-Man stuff, and then I see Powerpuff Girls stuff and I buy it all.
I'll have to. I have a bunch. I was like, I'm looking at my shelf up here. I have more downstairs. Most of my stuff up here is like queer horror. So
Do you know this one?
Like,
So
no, I don't know that
so
one.
very
Bloody Man.
non-binary, I think superhero. And
Oh shit!
it's,
All right.
you gotta get this. Like, how dope does it look? I was like, oh, you've got me sold. Like, look how
That
cool
looks
this is.
right up my alley.
Right, looks cool as fuck.
I'll also throw out if you're looking for like good kid, like this one. This one's technically for adults, but it has queer messages in it. But this one's really good. Oh, Human Star.
Okay,
by
I'm
Taylor
getting
Fonji.
that.
This
That
one's
looks
so
great.
this one's so good. It's the basic how do I want to describe this without spoiling too much? Basic idea is a guy dies and then he wakes up in the future in a robot body. And he's trying to figure out why he got killed. And he was the guy who helped invent like the robot revolution.
Mhm.
Goes to his friend's house, who's now like the CEO of the company that they supposedly started. And he thinks like, oh, maybe he killed me because
killed
he
me,
got it. Yeah. But then he has now a robot daughter that looks like him and is identified as like was created as like a version of him as a kid because he's like, I'm trying to recreate you. I wanted to try and bring you back. But then you came out as trans as a kid, and I thought I failed as like recreating you, and it's about him as an adult trying to reconcile like I never was dealing with these feelings, and I like grew up to like this like big strong burly dude, but I also had these
but
like
this is
gender feelings. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
so cool. I'm getting that.
It's a really
definitely
really cool
getting that.
story.
Also, now I have this like also black motherfucking monsters. Like,
Oh, I love that. Oh my
yes,
god.
like how fucking cool does this look? I'm like, yeah, I just been in the store like, give me it all. And then I don't know if y'all ever heard of this. This was really like separate and apart from this, but I also recently bought these as a
Oh, I've heard
self-proclaimed
of that
cat
series.
lady.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, cat comic, cats doing shit in the woods. There we got the cats. Call me in. I literally I saw it and I was like, yeah, gotta get that. Cats doing stuff.
Mhm.
If you read any of those series, we're gonna have to do some comic videos on a Learn How to Pop.
Dead ass. I'm like, yeah. So I actually love this. I'm like the books that they're showing. I'm like, yeah, I want to buy those.
Mm? If you I will have to. I mean, I can pull them up now if we had time, but I have a shoot ton. Why did I say that? I'm trying to censor myself because I don't know. Can I say shit on your podcast?
Yes,
Is
you
that
can
a
say
fine? I have a shit ton of horror comics, but like they're definitely not for kids. But they're fun queer horror comics that are really really fun.
Are
if
they
you're into
fun?
that.
Let me see. Jess, you have nothing but books behind you. Something's got to be nerdy and weird in there. You don't have no comics?
Never gotten into comics or graphic novels or anything.
Jess, that's so crazy for a creative, and you're creative in my mind, whether you think so or not. So I'm gonna send you a comic, Jess.
I have one. I have Palestine by Joe Sacco.
Let me see it. I love that. That's the only comic you have. That's so consistent. I know.
It was actually
Alright.
gifted to me.
is
by
it?
friends.
Oh, that looks great.
Oh,
Palestine
yeah.
by Joe. So let me see the last name.
Sacco.
I want that.
I
It's-
have that one.
it's
I haven't had a
really-
chance to read it yet, but
recently either.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
get
that's
that.
Yeah.
I have that one. There was another one too that was really good in the similar vein. Can't remember. I'll have to go find it downstairs.
What was the title of that first one you showed, Jesse?
First one I
The-
showed, Oh Human Star.
Yeah, we need
I
that.
legitimately, I'm a filmmaker. This is like a dream project of if I ever get to adapt a comic, this is the one I'd want to.
You want it to be that?
Yeah.
Oh, you can read it online too on their website.
Mm-hmm. Blue's great. Blue's
Oh,
absolutely
that's so
fantastic.
cool.
Yeah.
That's what I'm them. I'm gonna buy it though.
But yeah, here's just a couple like if you want some good horror comics. So this is good for kids. Baba Yaga's assistant.
Let me
This
see
is
the
a fun
picture.
little-
Moving more to the right.
Yeah, let's see.
Your camera. Yeah. Ooh, that looks cool and scary, and also very cool though. Baba Yaga's assistant.
And then, one second, I forgot to grab. One second, there's one more I forgot to grab. If you're looking for some fantastic, like one of my favorite queer comics, this is like, I'm gonna just say this right up front, not for kids. Do not get your kids this comic, but this is one of my personal favorites.
It's called.
It's very short. When I Arrived at the Castle by Emily Carroll.
When I Arrive at the Castle, I'm getting that.
Yes, it is some of the coolest horror I've seen, but yeah, definitely R-rated. Like, do not get that for kids.
I like that. Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm like.
And then this one's very queer as well. This one's not R-rated. It is very scary though. The Crossroads at Midnight by Abby Howard.
The animation looks so good.
Oh yeah, the it's got a lot of like body horror, and I'm trying to think of like some cool...
I don't actually think I've ever read a scary book, you know.
Oh yeah, these are like
this is very Junji Ito inspired. It looks like.
Yes, there's few things that like actually scare me. It's very hard to scare me. Abby Howard and Emily Carroll are two of the few comic artists who like, oh, the images you come up with like actually scare the crap out of me, and that's difficult.
I'm getting those. I don't think I've ever read a scary book in my life.
Yeah, please read those two.
I can't think of a time I've ever been reading something scary, like a horror. Like I don't think so.
I like reading horror, but it's so rare that I find anything that truly terrifies me. The only thing I can like think of in recent memory besides these comics that like, oh, that scared the crap out of me. Have you ever heard of the horror podcast series, The Magnus Archives?
No, but it's scary.
Oh, it's horrifying in like a really great way. This is the way I'll pitch it. The basic pitch of it got really big a few years ago when I was in like college or just after college, and now they have a sequel series out that connects to it. You can start the sequel series. It's called The Magnus Protocol, and it ties back into the original series, but you don't need to have any knowledge. But if you go back and listen to the original series, the basic pitch of it is there's this group called the Magnus Archives. They sort of catalog and take just sort of like piece together different paranormal stories, and the main character is the archivist who just sort of like catalogs everything, takes over from the previous archivist, like, this place is a mess, and just starts going through and reading the stories to you and being like, all right, I'm just going to categorize it, follow up on some investigations. But and each story is like an individual just one-off tale that's absolutely horrifying. But then you start to notice after about like 4 or 5, you're like, wait, that one connects to this one. And that one connects, like this thing connects that way in a weird way. And then it slowly starts building. And you're like, oh, this is a whole web of things all connecting together. And I won't spoil, it goes for 5 seasons. They have 5 seasons of it. And it has a good ending. But it has a couple reveals at different points in the story of like, oh, here's how the world connects together. And you're like, oh, that's really, really cool. Like a really cool mythology. It's called what
again? And is it on YouTube?
The Magnus Archives, I believe it's on YouTube. It's just an audio podcast. You can get it on all podcast stuff, but it's on YouTube. And then they have a sequel one that just started like last year, I believe, called The Magnus Protocol, which is a sequel to where the original ends. You don't need to listen to it. And one of the main characters on the sequel series is a trans woman. And I believe also I forget the ethnicity of the main character on that one as well. I believe he's Indian as well, but I'm not 100% on that, so don't quote me on that.
I'm going to check those out. Now, completely unrelated from our original topic. What is the scariest movie you ever watched, Jess? I know you had to watch horror movies.
Oh, I watch a shit ton of horror movies. I'm trying to think of like what's the scariest though. Oh man,
I think The Strangers.
The Strangers?
Actually, yeah.
How come The Strangers?
I think because I could see that actually happening, and it scared the shit out of me. Things that can actually happen scare me more than like a supernatural. I don't believe in ghosts.
I used to be. You don't believe in ghosts, Jess?
No.
At all?
No.
Just no part of you believes. What about demons?
No. I'm not religious. I'm a huge atheist, so I don't.
I'm not religious either, but I'm Caribbean, so I'm like, not demons either.
No.
So exorcism, Emily Rose didn't bring you to your knees.
Why do demons feel more normal to you than ghosts? It sounds like. Is that a Caribbean thing?
Well, why? Yes. I feel like yes. I feel like it is an inherent Bahamian notion that there are people, they're possessed motherfuckers walking around us like that. They're like. I feel like Yes. And obviously, like, the Bahamas is a constitutionally Christian nation, right? So obviously a lot of the things that we think are steeped in Christianity and like so no matter like, and that's the thing, you can't really divorce it from that. So it's like no matter how not Christian and not religious I am as an individual, I'm still very Bahamian. And so my level of being Bahamian is steeped in superstition and things that are, but you can't convince me though that ain't no ghosts and no demons. Now I don't believe. Now heaven, hell, but like demons, ghosts, for sure. I'm like, yeah, definitely. I definitely will fully not bigger than that. That's why the scariest. I'll tell you, every horror movie that has ever like really truly scared me rocked my world for an extensive period of time. So I know exactly what they are. In the 4th grade, my Auntie Kendra made me watch 13 Ghosts. Do y'all remember 13 Ghosts?
Yeah.
My auntie called me. Was I in the 4th grade or the 2nd grade? Either way, she called either a 2nd or a 4th grader a pussy if I didn't watch that with her, my adult aunt. So I watched 13 Ghosts, and I spent like the next 5 years terrified of the bathroom in my house, like true trauma. Then in the 6th grade, when I finally like recovered from the trauma of 13 Ghosts, then in the 6th grade, my big sister made me watch Amityville Horror, which fucked me up for like the next 2 years. Then in like high school.
Was it the
Which
original
one?
Or the one with Ryan Reynolds?
I think was it Ryan Reynolds in that Amityville Horror?
Yeah.
Was that who it was? Let's see. 2005. Yeah, it must have been this 2005 one because I was. Oh, that's Ryan Reynolds.
Wild. I
You
didn't
know
realize
what's funny?
that either.
He obviously was not Ryan Reynolds then to me. In 2005, he obviously wasn't that Ryan Reynolds because I'm not sure if I could like Ryan Reynolds could convince me to be afraid in 2025. Like I don't know if I could take Ryan Reynolds serious in a horror movie. I'm sure that would have affected how I saw it today. But in 2005 or 6, when I said that was the scariest shit I've ever seen in my life, I had no idea that was him. You couldn't tell me that wasn't a miscellaneous white father in that film. You said that just now. I was like, Jess, I was like, they made a recent reboot? Like,
wow, I forgot about that.
Pre-Deadpool Ryan Reynolds.
I didn't realize that was him. Okay, so that one didn't scare you either, Jess?
No.
That's real crazy.
So I've been a freak since I'm a kid. So I'm like very into stuff like scary shit and serial killers. And I had family in Long Island, and I asked them to drive me by the actual house. And I was like very unimpressed. I thought there would be something like shocking to my system, like I would feel something. And they like remodeled the house, so it didn't even look the same. I was like, oh, this is boring.
I promise you, Jess, if we were not real life friends and you have not been in my home repeatedly and we were not real life homies, you would not be able to convince me that I wouldn't have to be suspicious of you right now. I'm like, don't believe in ghosts, don't believe in demons, watch horror stuff regularly, sitting there unscared. Seems like something a demon hiding amongst us would say.
Listen, I'm afraid of aliens.
Aliens?
Like extraterrestrial in the sky aliens, that scares the shit out of me.
Ghosts and demons, not real, but you scared of the aliens.
Definitely there's like, we're not the only life in the it can't just be us on Earth. That's boring. There's
my sister Dawn is a doctor, and she's convinced obviously that mermaids are a thing, that they are real and they are dangerous and they are the aliens. Like, so I believe that. I believe that the aliens are in the ocean.
There's also an interesting theory that like on Earth, it's weird that they like scientists have looked at their records that life came about on Earth almost as soon as it was possible for life to exist on Earth. Like it's weird that happened. So there's actually a scientific theory that we know that Mars had like habitable, like was to a degree had oceans and stuff. So they actually think that life on Earth actually came from Mars, like an asteroid that came from Mars hit Earth and then seeded Earth like with life. So technically all of us would be aliens in that regard. So sorry. It's too weird. But yeah.
Like I could see that. I definitely think there are like weird creatures among us. I almost on some level think everything that we think we've come up with is human is real. Like or at least based in something. Like I'm like, you ain't come up with vampires out the blue and everybody got the same set of lore. Y'all met somebody. I'm like, there's somebody, something right. Like which
Yeah.
okay. Then if we believe so no demons and ghosts, we say no to demons and ghosts. We do believe in aliens. What about vampires and mermaids?
I don't know if I believe in them necessarily. I could believe that like stuff like that similar to that existed for sure.
You believe something similar to vampires, like what?
I don't know, like weird people that drank blood or some stuff like that. I don't know. That gets into like blood libel bullshit. So I don't even know. I don't know. I could believe that there's like some basis for like a kernel of where these things come from, but like as actual like vampires exist, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Well, I think personally, chiming in as a vampire guy, the vampire stuff, a lot of it really just came from like tyrannical like warlords in at least like the modern like European like lore that we get most vampire iconography from is like that Central Eastern European like, you know, the Transylvania, the Vlad the Impaler, like a lot of the stuff is inspired by him, and that like he wasn't necessarily like a vampire, but he was extremely violent and gory in how he like portrayed himself to people to like rule in fear. And it was like, you know, the tales say that he did like eat people and drink blood, and he could turn into a bat, you know, all those things that like old like kings and stuff were like, yeah, I'm a god, I'm a weird like freak, be afraid of me, I'm gonna kill you and eat you if you oppose me in your little village. So
yeah, I mean, like a lot of stuff comes like that because like doppelgangers too comes from like autistic kids being like, because doppelganger stuff usually comes from like, oh, they like changelings, like kids were taken as kids and then replaced with like some fairy child that like just looks like your kid but is not your kid, and that comes out of like a lot of like anti-neurodivergent stuff. So like autistic kids, when they say like, oh, my kid feels alien, they're not responding the same way, they're not responding in the way that I think most kids should, so they must be like possessed by fairies, or my
is that what they came up with that
fairies. Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. That's wild. I can definitely see that. So nothing. Let me see. Hold on. No, I'm trying to think what next creatures.
I have nothing for mermaids. I don't know about that. So
yeah, I don't know the history of mermaids. I mean,
I heard it might be something about manatees, and like people with scurvy hallucinating on the ocean, and they see a manatee and they're like, I want to fuck that manatee. That's a hot manatee over there.
I wonder if it also ties into like the sirens from like Greek, like the Odyssey. I'm sure there's some connection there on some level, I'm sure.
I believe they're real. I believe.
Did you see the movie The Lighthouse?
No, I didn't see it, but I remember the trailer for it. Like,
it's
a black and white
movie. If people who have seen it will know what I mean. One of the most interesting depictions of mermaids, I'll say, is what I'll leave there.
Okay, I gotta go watch that. Do you believe in magic in general, then, Jess?
I believe, yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily know if it's magic in like the ways we think of like as like spells, but I do believe that there are things that we do not understand that seem like magic, like shit, like I mean, if I'm do science stuff, like quantum entanglement, like particles that are like, they could be light years apart from each other, and yet they are somehow entangled and react to each other and knows what the other particle is doing across like light years. Like there's something weird about that, in the sense that like, oh, there's these things that we can like science in and be like, it works like that, but why does it work like that? And there's just so many things I think in the universe that we cannot explain, that are just kind of just magical, in the sense that like it seems impossible. So yeah, I don't necessarily know if I believe in like magic spells and such, but I believe in like things that are so like the way the universe is built, the physics of the universe feels so grand and strange and unknowable that there's a magic in that.
So what I'm hearing is yes to witches, then.
Yes, yeah.
Everybody says yes to witches. Jess, yes to witches.
No.
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 Hey, my Wiccan friends will come at you.
I want y'all to know the next time I see Jess, I'm going to be all in Jess's face, highly suspicious now. Like, Jess, very
the murder room?
interesting.
Where's the murder room in this house?
Right, like I'm like, oh, if this were a movie, Jess is 100% whoever we're looking for. Like,
100% gonna like survive the movie. I've always been confident. Something.
Oh.
Okay.
By the way,
To
if you're
finish
looking
on
for
the horror
Oh,
movies
sorry.
that destroyed my life since we ended at Amityville Horror. After Amityville Horror, it was The Exorcism. Emily Rose fucked me up.
It's a good one.
They fucked me up at the beginning from the based on a true events. They'd already ruined me, and then by the time she's in like that catatonic state, my life was over. So then Insidious, senior year like of high school, they had no business making that old lady look that scary. To this day, every time I think about it, I gotta like rebuke it in the name of Jesus. This is the scariest shit I've ever seen in my life. I was like that, and then I hit my car like on my like garage thing, being scared of the haunting of Connecticut, or is that no? I'm sorry. It wasn't the haunting of Connecticut. It was the haunting of somebody's house. What was it called?
Hill House?
No, it was before then. I want to say I was in college. The haunting. I thought it's not Connecticut. That's too.
The whole state.
I'm like, damn, the haunting of. No, it was not Connecticut. That's 2009. It was way. Jesus Christ, I never seen this scary shit in my life. Let me move on.
What are you looking at? Like my
There is
fiance...
The Haunting in Connecticut is a 2009 film.
There's like I want to say it's like it came out in like 2013 or something, like somehow the haunting of. Damn, why they be naming all this stuff this? The haunting of, I don't know. It was scary as shit though. It really fucked me up, and I think they made like a second one to it. And then I don't think I saw after that. At that point, I think I accepted that horror movies and I are not friends. Like, all right,
That took you a long time.
See, my fiance and I love horror movies, so I even have like a list here that I recommend people. Like, if you're looking for something, you were asking me what one of the scariest movies I watched was. There's an American version of it called Quarantine that's terrible. Don't go see that one. That one sucks. However, the original Spanish version of a movie called Rec, REC, horrifying. Legit one of the scariest movies I've ever watched.
So definitely not watching that.
Yeah. Rec and Rec 2,
not.
its sequel is also pretty good too. There's like 2 other sequels after that. Don't watch 3 and 4 there, whatever.
The only horror movies I like is Scream. Like, I love the Scream franchise.
Oh, Scream's a lot of fun. I
love
enjoy Scream movies. Mm-hmm.
Like, I love Scream, and I can't watch it because CJ doesn't watch anything that will even make him jump. It doesn't have to be scary. It literally just has to. If it's a bang, it's a sound, it makes him jump, he will not watch it. We took him, I dragged him kicking and screaming to the movie theater to see Blink twice, and he did this the whole film. Like, never, the whole movie, just.
I wonder if you would like some like horror comedy then, like, because there's this one of my favorite horror comedies is Final Girls. If you ever seen that?
Final Girls, they make horror comedies.
Oh yeah, I love horror comedies, one of my favorite genres. But like Final Girls is one of my personal favorites because the basic idea is there's this old like slasher film, and there's always like the girl who has sex dies in it first, and like there's always one girl that lives, the final girl. So there's this old movie that came out, and then one of the lead actresses, one of the like girls who like in the movie she had sex and then got immediately killed by the slasher villain in the movie. She has a daughter, the actress does, and then she dies in a car crash. And then years later, the daughter, who never really got to know her mom, goes to a screening of the film with her friends, and they get sucked into the movie. And so she's trying the whole movie to save her mom's character from like having sex, like trying to get the woman who is often the one who's like, oh, we're going to dispose of her, we're going to get rid of her quickly, trying to make sure she's the one that survives the whole film. It's a really funny movie. And really
I
good at,
want
like,
to see
breaking
that. When did they
tropes.
make that?
That one wasn't too old. I think it would be like 2016,
2015.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
How come I didn't even know this genre existed? Did they not advertise these movies?
Oh,
Jesse, would you consider Cabin in the Woods a horror comedy? Because I kind of do.
I would definitely consider it a horror comedy.
I watched Cabin in the Woods. I remember watching that.
Yeah,
it was like comical in the way that like I don't know that like Chris Evans dies like 30 minutes in. Just like
I forgot Chris Evans was in that movie. There's someone else in that movie.
Not Chris Evans,
too.
Chris Hemsworth. The Thor one was the guy that was in there.
Captain Kirk's dad. Yeah, of course, Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, damn! I didn't know this was a thing. I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna have to watch it by myself. CJ not watching that.
Another good funny one is I'm just looking at my list here that I have here. Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon, which is it's a faux documentary. It's a horror comedy, but it's a faux documentary where these like documentarians interview a serial killer, like a slasher villain serial killer, while he's doing slasher villain serial killer stuff. So it's like, oh yeah, so I kill these kids, like I prep myself up beforehand. Like it's just like him going through the daily motions of like him being a serial killer. It's really, really funny.
Oh, I'm actually gonna check these out. Horror comedy,
Yeah.
I might be able to get behind.
Horror
I
comedies,
want
if
you
you
to
can
know.
get, yeah.
I'm staring at Jess, like Jess's entire like room being dark, you being in black, being quiet as we talk about this horror, just like.
You should stop implicating your friend in crimes.
I know,
that you
I'm
don't
like, I
about
love you so much, friend. Like, I might like. First of all, I want you to know that if Jess were a vampire, it would be okay. Like, we'd still be friends.
Honestly,
Like,
I'd ask you, could you make me a vampire? I'd be
we
down
could
with
still be
that.
friends.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, Jess, why are you lying about it? Like, Jess, why don't you think that I would be?
I wish
Do you think I'm anti-vampire?
I was a vampire. Like, much more interesting.
I'd be incredibly inclusive. Like, I would not be anti. Like, if our world changed where suddenly like there were like open vampires and stuff or whatever, I wouldn't be against them, unless they like appeared majority white or something during like, then I'd be suspicious. Like if suddenly
That's
during
how
a
it would. That's
decision-
how it would happen. It would be everybody in like the conservative pundit community, like the GOP is all vampires, and they're creating like farms of black people to get blood from. That's probably.
I
what it
want
would
you
be.
to know, first of all, if that happened, because that's like how in The Boys, like they
Is that a
intentionally,
movie?
right?
Is that a
They're
thing?
making like in The Boys, they make the superheroes and not actual superheroes when they're intentionally picking majority white people so they could act like they're gods given chosen people to be strong like that. So yeah, I would be suspicious. Like if I would be, the only way I would be suspicious of Jess being a vampire is if it was under these circumstances of she didn't tell me about it, and then all of a sudden like all the vampires started coming out as like a white like right wing agenda. Then I'd be like,
Wait, don't implicate the white nationalist vampires.
that's what I said. That's the only way.
I don't think I fit in. Frankly, I'd be banned. No.
I feel like even if that was the case, I would not be on their side as a vampire.
No. I did like the Twilight vampires that were just kind of like old and existing.
You froze.
Did I freeze? Oh, I like
Yeah.
the Twilight vampires. Like,
Oh,
they
you
were
like
just-
Twilight?
I don't. Yes, I like Twilight. Sure, but the idea of the vampires in that way, or like if it was like a Dexter vampire, where they're only killing bad people, you know, like Dexter, the serial killer. If the vampires were only killing bad people, I'd be into that.
I think I'd be into it regardless. Like, as long as like it wasn't racist, like if they were just killing like indiscriminately like anybody who upsets me, you know what I mean? Like, oh, okay. Like as long as like it wasn't disproportionately, I promise you, as long as it wasn't disproportionately racist. But if they were just murdering people just like because I can, I would support that. If I were a supernatural creature, it would be up for people. I would murder people every day. I would come home and tell CJ, let me tell you what I've done.
Have you ever seen What We Do in the Shadows, the show? Or the
No.
movie?
I was literally gonna bring that up. I love that show.
It's
Me
so
and my
good.
wife love that show.
What We Do in the Shadows is a show?
Yeah, it's a so
Yeah.
there's a movie version of it that started off as a movie, and then they made a show with like different, like same basic premise but different characters. In fact, some of the characters in the movie show up. Anyways, there are a bunch of vampires from like Eastern Europe or whatever, but like they're living now in Long Island as like just like in a home together, and they're very. Yeah, and they're just like, they're very kind of ignorant of modern day, and it's very, very funny. And they have like one of their familiars is Guillermo, who's like this gay character who's like trying to become a vampire, but they just constantly look down at him. It's so funny.
It's shot like it's like a Parks and Rec, The Office type thing, except it's a documentary following these vampires in Long Island.
Yeah, it's really, really funny. I would highly recommend it.
I will check that out.
The only
okay,
reason I haven't recommended it to you is because you don't like The Office.
mockumentary. I was like,
yeah.
I resisted the urge to say how much I hate mockumentaries. Like I left it out. Like, and Aaron
That's
was
why.
like,
That's the only reason I haven't recommended it to you.
I am a
I
mockumentary
think
hater.
it is a mockumentary style, but I think you can still enjoy it without.
I'm gonna check it out because I like Abbott Elementary is the only mockumentary style film thing I like. So I will check it out. So my last question I'm gonna ask everybody then before I free y'all, because how did I end up having y'all talking about vampires? Is if you were a supernatural creature, which supernatural creature do you think you would be?
Ooh, I mean, my easy answer is always shapeshifter. I mean, just you know.
Oh, that makes sense. I like that.
Yeah. It's also just like I think it'd be fun to just experience different like lives and different ways of existing in different ways. I think it'd be fun. So
I like that. I think I'd be a witch for sure.
What kind of shapeshifter though?
I mean, it would be one where I could like just choose it on a whim. It wouldn't like be like I steal your memories or whatever. It's just like I could just change my form.
I absolutely would steal memories and things like that. If I had powers, I 100% would be like an abusive power. Like if I absolutely would be
change the
like,
lens over from Jess being the suspicious one to you because you have a lot
but
of
I know, see,
ulterior
did you see how
motives.
I'm not hiding? Did you see how I'm not hiding? That's why it is Jess. You would know you can't trust me. like that's the difference. Jess would tell you she's a human the whole movie, and you'd like her eyes would flash at the end after the humans are thinking they survived. Like they all walk in. That's how it would be.
I don't know what a supernatural.
Let me see. Witches, warlocks, vampires, werewolves, fairies, mind readers, shapeshifters. You could go like all whatever superpower thing you want. What do you think?
If I say mind reader, my therapist will be mad at me. I like the idea of like as you know, fuck J.K. Rowling, but in Harry Potter, like Hermione, she was so fucking smart, and she had a lot of like I'm a huge Harry Potter nerd, unfortunately. She had all
same. Same.
So being able to like teach yourself. So like she was a witch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna send you. I now know which Funko Pop I'm gonna buy you for Christmas. I know exactly who I'm buying you, who I'm sending to your house, Jess. Now that you've answered that question like that, I know who I'm giving you. Do you watch The Boys?
No.
I do.
I'm not even gonna like force you to watch The Boys. I only watch it because like Illuminati Pop, they bullied me into watching it, so that's the only reason I'm watching it. So I won't make you, but I know who I'm sending you. Like, Aaron, who are you? You gotta choose. You're the.
I think I know who I'm sending you. Yeah.
Vampire 100%.
You'd be a vampire. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, it encompasses a whole
You'd
lot
be a
of
vampire who
random
come and tell
different
me you
powers.
don't like blood.
What?
You'd be a vampire who come and tell me that you don't like blood and stuff. Like,
Oh, come on. What is this?
I could
What do
see
you
it.
take me for? You're insulting me. I feel like you're telling me like I'm a guy that goes into a restaurant who didn't look at the menu beforehand and be like, no vegan options. Like didn't even look. I just wanted to be mad about it when I went in.
No, I could see you. Just first of all, I could see you being a vampire and immediately start trying to like reform the culture of how vampires give it up. Like you'd be like, well, we don't actually have
I really don't
to
like
kill
the
people in this
indiscriminate. Like why do I judge the ethicality of like senseless murder.
That would definitely
sure,
be
but...
you.
There was an old show in like the early 2000s called Moonlight that was like a private eye who was a vampire, and he would only have like blood. He would like steal blood from hospitals, and like it'd be like really bad blood and make him sick. But it's like, this is just how I eat. Like that's
It's so funny.
This looks like a show Olay would have watched.
Really causing all the people who need the blood not to get it. It's like it's him thinking he's doing a good thing, but he's like killing a bunch of helpless people who needed that blood.
It's like I like killing people by stealing all of the O negative from the hospital because it's the rarest blood type.
Taste the best, you know? It's the caviar of blood.
That's actually hilarious. Thank y'all so much. This has been a very unconventional episode, but I enjoyed myself.
I love this line that we went on. Yeah.
All right.